everyone. It is morning here in Hawaii. 6:30 in the morning to be exact. Anyway, let me get this started here. All right, cool. Hey. Oh, aloha. Here, I really want to show you all my morning view. Sorry, there's like traffic sounds in the background. Oh man, is it like hard to see? Oh, there it is a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, I guess it won't let me like focus on other stuff. Hey, Janice. All right. So anyway, here we are for Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday again. What an amazing week I've had. So last week I took off. Mahalo for being cool with the replay on adventure. I've been doing some epic diving. It's been so awesome. I got certified like back in 2003. And then I've gone diving like off and on, but it wasn't until like being in Hawaii so much last year that I was like, dude, I got to do more of this. So I have my own gear, which always makes things so fun, right? Because you're like, I want to go use it. So I have a nighttime manta ray dive scheduled for later this week. I have some shore dives because my place in Kona is just like literally there's a shore diving spot right there. So I'm super stoked. So I hope you all are having some adventures too. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about integrity. And while there are many facets of integrity, I wanted to spend a bit more time on being honest. And not just honest with ourselves. I mean, not just honest with other people, but also being honest with ourselves. Yeah. So part of that is really cultivating some ZG and some courage, because it kind of takes some like ovaries, some instead of cojones, some ovaries, to really speak your truth in certain contexts, right? So I wanted to kind of jam about that today because it can be so easy for us to like fall into little lies. I wanted to start off by talking about how my way of tapping into if I'm living in integrity right now is really to check in with my body. So if you've been following me for a while, you may know that, over the years I've struggled with anxiety. And we know some people just have a genetic predisposition. Certain substances make it worse, like caffeine. Obviously, more stress would make it worse. But anyway, I used to kind of have this physical response and wonder if I was overreacting. Oh, it is loud, Janice? Sorry. If I go inside, it's going to be... Oh, wait, there, the volume was down. I think that should help. But yes, there's going to be background noise. Sorry. So I was noticing that when my body had an anxiety experience, I would always look externally, like what is going on externally that is threatening to me. Like, is it the person I'm with or the situation I'm in and whatnot? And then over time, as I learned to manage my symptoms, I started noticing, now what that body reaction represents to me is a level of sensitivity to if I'm living in alignment with my dreams. So that's really important for me to become aware of, because sometimes we go, well, how do we know if I'm living in alignment or not? And our body has a lot of wisdom with that. And so the more we can pay attention to our body's wisdom, we can kind of tap into something's out of alignment here, right? Like the way I'm living my life on the outside is not in alignment with how I want to be in the world and with my internal values. So we have research that also shows when we're not living in integrity, especially when it comes to deception and honesty, that we have physiological reactions and consequences to our health. So, for example, we know that when people lie or keep secrets, that They have higher blood pressure, higher heart rate, higher cholesterol, more cortisol release and other stress hormones. It's like our body wants us to be at peace. If you listen to like my confidence training way back that I released years ago, I talk about how one of the main ways you can increase confidence is to tell the truth and to be authentic. Because when we do that, right, we're not hiding anything. Like, oh, I hope people don't see me eat at Taco Bell. Or like, oh, I hope people, I hope people don't see me get mad at my husband, right? Like I talk about all the time how I'm like not perfect in my relationship. And so it leads to this level of like relaxation and ZG where it's like, yeah, I'm being authentic. I'm being me all the time or as much as you can, right? Which is much more relaxing and much more calming to the nervous system, okay? And we don't have to constantly worry, is someone going to find me out, right? So when we're not living authentically, when we're living out of integrity, we actually can tap our energy reserves in a way that it's exhausting if we're constantly pretending to be or do something we're not. Hey, Lisa. So it's really important that we recognize when we're doing that and the level of energy it takes to keep up living this kind of false representation of ourselves, right? Now, integrity, let's go back to the word. The root word for integrity, integer, means whole, like not in pieces. So it makes sense that when we're living out of integrity, when we're only living like a part, sorry, traffic's picking up here. When we're only living a part of our true self, that it creates some distress in us, right? Yeah. So I want to invite you as part of your path to living in integrity, which leads to more mental peace, more calm, more emotional well-being, to start with showing up as your true self and not lying, right? So no more lying to make people feel comfortable, no more lying to yourself about truths. Hey, skateboarder. No more lying to, like, lies of kindness, Those, when it's inauthentic kindness, and I'm going to go into more detail about the nuances of that, it doesn't help anyone. So we can start small. Like, what about the sugar pushers? Y'all know the sugar pushers who are like, here, have a cookie. And you're like, no, it's okay. I'm like doing a cleanse or I'm watching my sugar. And they're like, come on, it's just one. I made these, right? And they like guilt trip you. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we eat it. And then we're like feeling guilty about it later, right? But this is a form of inauthenticity. I'll wait for that guy to go by. Inauthenticity, right? And so when we're acting in that way, when we are kind of even having these little lies, we're not showing up as our true selves. So we're like, well, I don't want to make that person feel bad, but inside you're feeling bad because you didn't stick to something that you agreed to do for yourself, for your health, right? We're always so willing to disappoint ourselves instead of disappoint others, but we've got to flip that around. How can you be willing to disappoint others in order to stay true to yourself, right? And this is uncomfortable, and I want to really emphasize that living in integrity is a rebellious act, right? I mean, mostly in society, we're taught to do things to make other people like us, to do things for material success, to shift to hold this really perfect self-image. And when we are willing to challenge that, when we're willing to be counterculture, that's a really rebellious act. And it is uncomfortable because we need to let go of what other people think of us and let go of other people liking us. We need to But anyway, we would be living a lie anyway. So what's the point of them liking us if it's not even really us, right? We might have changes in our level of material success when we're honest, right? Think about how the economics would change for big corporations if they were honest about their operating procedures sometimes, right? So that's like on a big level. And then on our level, what would that mean? And it shifts our self-image as well, because we're pretty much taught to say and do what will keep others around us comfortable, and that won't shake things up. But living your truth will shake shit up, right? So I want to really touch on wisdom and compassion and where that fits in with all this, right? So I just want to point out that with BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, and people identified by society as women, when these populations speak out, there is a very real risk of aggression, social isolation, violence, and persecution, right? So this needs to be done keeping that in mind. Your safety first, right? And you know your situation best and when it will be safer to do so. So use that wisdom, but check it against if it's from fear of being uncomfortable or fear of actual likely consequences that would be devastating to you. And even then, there have been social justice leaders that have still acted despite those very real consequences, right? But that is up to you to decide, not anybody else. And most of the time, our fears that we have about what might happen are often a lot larger than the reality of what would happen. And again, this needs to be put into context, yeah? And it's much more likely to be literally dangerous for oppressed people. And we can start to live, we can still start, despite our discomfort, to live in integrity and in truth, right? Because for all of us, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's not a reason to not do it. The other thing we have to watch out for is self-righteousness, because we can kind of get some pleasure from self-righteousness, right? So we have to watch out for that. When we are honest with ourselves, first and foremost, that's how we can avoid that, because we can really check in, what is my motive for doing this, right? So the compassion note. So those other things we're having to do with wisdom. Wisdom, understanding your context, wisdom, understanding skillful action, but the compassion component. So it doesn't mean you go around saying hurtful things that only feel true to you without considering how it's going to impact others, right? This is different than people pleasing. When we're people pleasing, the reason comes from wanting others to like us or accept us so that we can avoid feeling uncomfortable or making someone else uncomfortable. But with compassion, the reason comes from wanting to ease the suffering of someone else, and it is in alignment. It's our truth that we really want that. And there's a fine line between people pleasing and compassion, yeah? And it's up to you to start practicing so you can tell the difference. But this is also why, when in doubt, it's good to err on the side of honesty. Because at first, and I see this a lot, we can fool ourselves into believing that something's an act of compassion instead of people pleasing, right? Hey, Laura. So one way to start to get to know the difference is listening to your body, like what I talked about. Like, does your body constrict when considering doing or not doing something? Or does it expand and feel free, right? Do you feel more ease? There's a yogi that said the body truth goes ahead of the mind lie. That's so good, right? So we check when we want to take an action and speak our truth or not. Does it lead to constriction in our body and a closing off, or a sense of expansiveness, ease, and freedom? So some people say, like, well, how do you like my dress? And what if you don't like it? What do you say? Well, you can say, well, it's not my style, but you're totally pulling it off. Truth, right? If you think someone doesn't look attractive in something, is that true? If someone cooks something and you don't like it, is that true in a universal sense? So these are the questions we need to ask, and there's no right or wrong, black or white, right? Can you absolutely know that this is true? So if someone's offering you a cookie and you're trying to be healthier and cut back on sugar, you can say, I'm cutting back on sugar, so no thank you. Because if you did take it, that person might feel better, but inside you would constrict, right? Now here's an example where it can get gray. So I don't usually eat gluten, right? I say I eat gluten when it counts, like artisan pizza or sourdough loaves occasionally, because it doesn't upset my stomach as much. But my husband's grandma's Italian, and the first day I met her, she made homemade raviolis, right? And so we sit down to dinner. I'm like excited. I've decided this is going to be one of those worth it times. And my husband announces, like, oh, Anna doesn't eat gluten. And he's trying to have my back, but I like kick him under the table. And his grandma's like, what? And I'm like, first of all, babe, I knew your grandma's Italian. If I really was not going to want gluten at all, I would have said something. But here's the question. Is it true that I don't eat gluten? No, it's that I rarely eat it. Who gets to decide when that time is that I eat it? Me, right? So what was more true than trying to avoid gluten? That eating this meal would bring us joy, right? Not that I wanted to avoid an uncomfortable situation, but that I felt a stronger truth to eat this beautiful meal and I would really enjoy it, not get sick, because I can tolerate homemade gluten meals more easily, right? Woo! We're going to wrap it up because people are waking up and driving now. So if it was going to make me truly sick, I'd have said something. But I would have also said something in advance. So is it people pleasing? No. Is it still my truth? Yes. Who determines which it is? Me. And only me. And in your scenarios, who determines it? You and only you. Yeah? So it's not black and white, and it's not easy to know all the time what your truth is. So remember that living authentically, actually, even though it's challenging at first, it sets you free. You're able to access so much more energy. You're able to access relaxation and ease and peace because you're no longer living a facade, right? So I'm in the podcast that drops tomorrow. I give you some tips to living in integrity. Not just about the honesty portion, but those are living with purpose, right? What is our larger purpose? And you decide what that is, right? Getting clear about our values and how we want to live our life. Learning the difference between what you truly want and what you think you should want. Your body can help you with that. Do I really want to eat this? Or do I think I should? And it's that deeper knowing, right? And then having your outer life be in alignment with your inner life. Does your outer life represent your desired inner life and your values, right? So are you making decisions aligned with your values, right? And we need to stay open to change with that. And being in integrity, part of that is recognizing that we learn things, we experience life, and our values may change. We may feel our purpose changes as we evolve as a human. So don't stay stuck in this box. You know, as we have life experiences, our values can change and shift along with that. And that is part of being in integrity, always reevaluating, right? So my challenge I'm going to leave you with today is to see what happens if you do a no lie challenge. Meaning, what if you don't lie for a day or a week, or I eventually want you to try for a month, right? That would be so amazing. I would be so excited for you to experience how your life would be different if you committed to not lying, you know. And you can start with those little things, like saying no thank you with the cookie, right? You can start with other little things like saying, if a lover is asking you, you know, does it feel good when I do this? You can say, actually, no, I would prefer it if you did it like this. Maybe that could be like a bigger thing for some people. For other people, it could be a smaller step. So you decide what's more true to you. And just start noticing all the little ways we tell white lies. We like exaggerate the truth. You know, when someone asks you how much something is and you're like, oh, it's like $50, when really you paid 75 or 80 for it. Like, why do we even do that? Or like, oh, I got it on sale. Why? Right? We start with those little things, and then we can move to the bigger truths, right? This is where our soul warriors come out about their sexuality, gender identity, speaking out against injustice in public. When we stop living a lie and when we start living authentically, you get to manifest that part of you that is so unique and that no one else in the world can fulfill. And you get to start knowing what that is by practicing, not lying. And I promise the more you do it, the easier it gets, and that you will survive, right? Look with wisdom at your context for skillful action. Do what's appropriate for you, determined only by you. But start noticing the difference in your body when you start living more authentically. It's huge. Better sleep, better sense of ease, better emotional health and wellness, okay? All right, my friends. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. And, enrollment for Freedom School is open. We jam on this stuff all the time. We're going to be doing a spiritual emphasis this month where we're experimenting with different types of meditation, different types of mindfulness. You have access to all the amazing courses on confidence, stop over drinking, stop overeating, all those amazing things. And I'd love to see you in there. So head over to joinfreedomschool.com, okay? It's going to be awesome. I'd love to see you in there. We can get you coached weekly when you're in there. So I'd love to see you. Joinfreedomschool.com, okay, my friends? Aloha. I'm flying from Maui to my place in Kona today. So I'm super stoked about that. All right, sending you lots of love. Aloha. Oh, you're welcome, Cheryl. Welcome, Barbara. You're welcome, Zooming Z. Bye, everyone.